on here, so y'all can think I'm a.
Nah, bro.
That ain't fair, man.
Hey,
I'm on EBT, bro.
hey.
Kevin McCall's viral meltdown lit the fuse on long-buried drama with Chris Brown. But before the tension cooled, Young Thug pulled up and confronted Chris face-to-face. What was supposed to be a calm, private talk exploded into a fiery clash that had everyone watching in disbelief. That leaked footage from the night? It's wild. Pure chaos caught on camera. October 20th, 2025, is now burned into R&B history as the night everything changed. Kevin McCall, 40 years old, sat down for what seemed like just another chill podcast on Back on Fig. Nobody, and I mean nobody, could have guessed that this regular interview would shake the whole industry to its core. About 45 minutes in, the hosts were hyping him up, praising his crazy talent, and out of nowhere, something just cracked inside him. Kevin reached into his wallet, pulled out his EBT card, yeah, a food stamp card, and the whole room went silent. Then, right there on camera, the man started breaking down in tears, raw and unfiltered. It wasn't just an emotional moment, it was the kind that makes everyone watching stop in their tracks, like, yo, what just happened? Bro, that moment was raw. It hit like a punch to the chest, painful to watch, and impossible not to feel something. Whether it was sympathy, disbelief, or a messy mix of both, everyone watching felt that wave of emotion crash down. Here was a man who helped create some of the biggest anthems of the 2000s and 2010s, tracks that made millions, even won Grammys, now sitting there, talking about surviving on government assistance just to grab a meal. Kevin kept it brutally real. He confessed he was behind on $2,000 a month child support for his daughter Marley with his ex, Eva Marcille.
You have a testimony.
Why
tell your life.
Get in on this.
I witnessed it.
He finna be in here and
Why
tell
the
the
fuck I got an EBT card? And this is at Breezy Bowl and made 90 whatever the million, and it say KKKKK Max. Can I get 25,000 for them four songs I owe you, bro? I just want to leave, bro.
Leading up to who he is.
I'm not even tripping though. I got an EBT card, my nigga. Like, what the bro? I can't even get nothing, bro. Man.
And the part that really broke hearts? He admitted he hadn't seen his kids in over 10 years. Through tears and shaky breaths, he talked about battling suicidal thoughts. It was raw, vulnerable, and heavy. Then came the moment that flipped the internet upside down. McCall looked straight into the camera and made a desperate plea to Chris Brown. Give me the $25,000 you owe me for those 4 songs, bro. He claimed his unpaid royalties could reach up to $3 million, saying the CBE deal was bogus and robbed him blind. Meanwhile, Chris was out living large, rocking stages on his Breezy Bowl 20 tour, and that contrast had everybody's jaw on the floor. While Chris Brown was out performing in packed stadiums, tours pulling in $90 to $100 million, singing songs Kevin McCall helped write, McCall was out here using food stamps and ducking his head in grocery stores from embarrassment. Like, damn, that contrast hit deep. The clip went insane online. No exaggeration. Within hours, it was everywhere. Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, the whole internet couldn't stop talking. The main clip shared by My Mixtape Hez on Twitter alone hit over 9 million views. The streets were instantly split in two. Some people saw a broken man who got chewed up by the music industry. A raw reminder of how cold this business can be when they don't really love you like that. But others weren't so forgiving, calling him out as someone paying the price for his own mistakes. A man who burned too many bridges and was now trying to play the victim.
My name.
Me and Heather, look. Me and Heather went to the county building together. On my mama, together. We went to the county building together.
The debate was messy, emotional, and nonstop. But then, out of nowhere, the story took a wild twist no one saw coming. Somebody with real influence, real money, and ties to both sides decided to jump in. None other than Young Thug, fresh out the jam and ready to show some unexpected love, stepped right into the chaos. October 21st, 2025. Just one day after Kevin McCall's emotional breakdown had the internet in chaos, Young Thug jumped online and dropped a tweet that blew everyone's mind. He wrote, Kevin McCall, hit me. I'll give you the $25,000 you need, and I know CB would give it to you too, bro. He a real one. Ends is busy sometimes. Brader. That single post flipped the whole conversation upside down. This was no small move. The culture noticed instantly. First off, Thug wasn't just talking. He was offering to personally hand over that $25,000 McCall claimed Chris owed him, real cash, not clout chasing. Second, he did it publicly, right in front of millions, putting both McCall and Chris Brown in a spotlight where everyone could see the energy for what it truly was. But the biggest twist? Thug managed to defend both sides, showing love to Chris while still trying to lift McCall up. That's a rare kind of balance in this game, and people respected it heavy.
Basically on a text message saying word. That's all they saying. Like it's one dude saying, yo, do this, and one dude is saying word. What do you feel about that?
I mean, I can't speak for my brothers in them cases and what they going on. I can only be who I always been, they brother. I'm gonna rock with them for life. It's us never.
To really understand why this hit's so different, you gotta know Thug and Chris's bond runs deep. Deeper than music. These two go way back, built off real loyalty and mutual respect. During the 2020 lockdown, they dropped Slime and B, a 13-track mixtape that lit up the internet. The single Go Crazy went 4 times platinum and hit number 9 on the Billboard Hot 100. Straight certified pressure. But it ran way deeper than just music. That loyalty went both directions. When Young Thug got arrested back in May 2022 on those heavy RICO charges and ended up fighting for his freedom for over 2 years, Chris Brown stood tall for him. Chris wasn't just tweeting for clout. He posted #FreeYSL, spoke about Thug in interviews with real love and concern, and made sure the world didn't forget his name. So when Thug stepped up for Kevin McCall, it wasn't betrayal or switching sides. It was mediation, pure and simple. He was showing compassion to a man clearly spiraling while still defending his brother's reputation. That's real G energy. When Thug wrote, "CB would give it to you also, bro, he a real one," and added that, "Ends is busy sometimes," he made it crystal clear. He wasn't picking sides, just keeping peace. McCall quickly replied, "What's up, bro? I'm just seeing this, about to DM you now, showing love and a little bit of hope that maybe, just maybe, things could cool down." At that point, Thug was fresh out the feds himself, focused on giving back. Just a few months earlier, in August 2025, he'd thrown a charity event for kids in Atlanta, proving his mindset had shifted. But while Thug was moving in love and healing energy, Chris Brown, he had completely different vibes brewing. And the way he handled it next had everyone talking.
Just come together.
Deuces came together. He was doing, In My Zone did well. So he wanted to click up with Tiger. He was a fan of him. He felt like he had buzz popping at the time. He wanted to link up with him and do a joint album.
Then came October 22nd, 2025, and Chris Brown decided to clap back hard. He hopped on his Instagram stories with the pettiness dialed all the way up and posted, "Remember this, you can't walk across a burnt bridge, and you know what's funnier than a troll? A broke one, bruh. That was cold." Straight up savage and icy as glass. That one post said everything without saying much. No reconciliation, no forgiveness, no money, nothing. Brown made it crystal clear. The bridge wasn't just burned. It was torched, reduced to ashes, gone forever. And to make it worse, folks were saying McCall had been the one holding the lighter the whole time. Social media exploded again. Timelines full of takes, memes, and arguments. Twitter turned into a war zone, with the culture split in two. But when the dust settled, around 70% of the internet seemed to side with Chris. People brought up old receipts, like how McCall had once threatened Chris's daughter, how he'd been given multiple chances and blew everyone. The general vibe, that McCall was living in the mess he made, and Chris was just done with it. One viral tweet summed it up perfectly. Before anyone says Chris Brown is being mean, context, Kevin McCall threatened to kill him and his daughter, Royalty. That post lit up timelines, and people couldn't stop arguing. Some felt like Brown was justified. After all, threats like that cross a line you can't come back from. But others thought Chris went too far, saying his response felt cold and cruel, like he was clowning a man already broken.
It was my song. It was a separate package from the whole thing. It's like, here's your 10 songs. Oh, and guess what? Listen to this in the car. He was listening to it the whole week. And he's like, nah, I need that song. I need that song.
You had this dude, clearly struggling with mental health, fighting personal demons, someone who once helped build Chris's empire when he was on the come-up. And instead of showing grace, Brown hit him with jokes about being broke. The internet was split down the middle. Plenty of fans pointed out how the music game has a dark pattern. The big stars get rich, while the songwriters and producers who laid the foundation get left in the dust. They argued that, no matter how messy McCall's behavior got, if he was truly owed money, he deserved to be paid. That's business, plain and simple. But to understand how things got this ugly, McCall crying on camera, Brown throwing shade with no mercy, we gotta rewind the story. Back to where it all began, when they weren't enemies yet, just two hungry young artists trying to make their mark in the industry. March 9th, 2016. That was the day Kevin McCall finally snapped, tired of being silent while everyone else ate. He fired off a tweet that reignited everything. At Chris Brown, we need to sit down and handle this business. And just like that, the fuse was lit. I tried the adult business route. I feel my kindness is being taken for weakness. That's what Kevin McCall tweeted. A straight-up public call-out, a bold line in the sand for everyone to see. This wasn't some clout-chasing move. McCall was demanding accountability. He wanted his credit, his royalties, and respect after what he claimed were years of broken promises and shady business. But if he expected Chris Brown to reply calmly or handle it behind closed doors, oh, he was in for a rude awakening. The very next day, March 10th, 2016, Chris hit Instagram with a rant so fiery it nearly broke the internet. It wasn't subtle, it wasn't friendly, it was war. Brown's post was cold, personal, and loud, the kind of message that ends friendships for good.
This image of me, he wanted me to this grown, sexy, had this thug appeal, and we kind of just didn't see eye to eye. I didn't see the vision he had at the same time. It could have just been a small conversation, but for whatever reason, he didn't see eye to eye with whatever he was trying to do.
He called McCall a bottom feeder and then dropped a threat that had everyone's eyes wide. Keep messing with me, and you won't be able to walk, let alone sing again. That line sent chills through the industry. Fans couldn't believe it. What was once brotherhood had now turned into pure hostility, and there was no going back. At that point, this wasn't some quiet business dispute or low-key industry tension anymore. This was a threat. Maybe a little veiled, but everybody in the culture knew exactly what it meant. And coming from someone like Chris Brown, a man with legendary talent and a history of explosive anger, it hit different. The whole internet froze for a second like, yo, did he really just say that? Meanwhile, Kevin McCall, always defiant, never one to fold, tried to play it cool at first. He hopped on Snapchat and posted, "I'm Chris Brown's #1 fan, actually." Nobody could tell if it was sarcasm or heartbreak, maybe a messy mix of both. Because real talk, this was a man who once looked up to Chris like a big brother, who helped him cook up some of his biggest hits, now being threatened by the same dude he once protected and rode for. But the back and forth didn't stop there, not even close. The tension just kept climbing.
Said about it, felt like it was a bad look. So he decided to call me on the phone and tell me how much of a bad look, but he didn't tell me in a professional way. So I had to, check him and let him know, don't ever talk to me like that.
All through 2016, McCall bounced between begging to be released from his CBE contract and praising Chris's music like he still had love for him. It was confusing, emotional, and messy. A toxic cycle where admiration and resentment kept clashing like thunder and lightning. It turned into this wild mix of anger and nostalgia, betrayal and brotherhood, a toxic back and forth everybody's seen play out at least once. The kind of messy relationship where love and hate start to look the same. By June 2016, Kevin McCall took the beef to wax, dropping a diss track called Baruch, a slick jab at Chris Brown's ex, Karrueche Tran, and the streets noticed immediately. Later, McCall admitted straight up that he used Karrueche's name just to get under Chris's skin. Petty? Absolutely. but also strategic. It showed how far things had fallen, from tight brothers to rivals dead set on cutting deep. Then came December 11th, 2017, the day everything went too far. McCall dropped an Instagram video challenging Chris to a fist fight. He called him out directly, saying, "You a blunt for bringing guns to a fist fight." He questioned Brown's whole image, that tough guy persona, calling him out like, "If you're real, prove it man to man." It was bold, reckless, and had the entire culture talking. But what came next was pure symbolism, the moment that screamed it's over. McCall grabbed his platinum plaque for Deuces, the very song that had changed both their lives, launched their careers, and made them rich, and he smashed it on camera like it was nothing. As he shattered it, he said, "Deuces to my past," a bitter wordplay that hit harder than any diss track ever could. And Chris Brown's response, just two emojis, one with a blank stare, the other crying tears of laughter. That dismissive reaction said it all. No anger, no words, just silence wrapped in mockery. And honestly, that probably cut deeper than any full-blown reply ever would.
Were you being offered publishing deals and stuff like that during this time?
I did a publishing deal through Chris. I didn't understand any of that. So
Okay.
everything was through Chris. And that's why what I was trying to get to is once me and his relationship kind of got funny, he kind of, the business and stuff was all held up and messed up.
That silence from Chris, those two little emojis, cut way deeper than words ever could. In hip-hop culture, that's the ultimate insult. You're not even worth a response. And that's when Kevin McCall went off the deep end, crossing a line that made peace completely impossible. The bridge wasn't just burned, it was obliterated. On January 6, 2018, McCall jumped on Twitter and posted a string of messages so wild, even his own supporters couldn't believe it. He wrote, "Chris Brown and his seed would be in a casket if he had anything to do with me being shot. Stop playing with rumors, or I can't promise CB will make 29. I kept him alive for 7 years, now in LA. Let's be clear, McCall didn't just threaten Chris. He brought up Chris's daughter, Royalty, who was only 3 years old at the time, an innocent child with nothing to do with their drama. He called her his seed and suggested both father and daughter could end up in a casket. That wasn't just disrespectful, it was unforgivable. The internet turned on him instantly. Fans who once defended him were done. The backlash was vicious. Social media exploded with anger, disgust, and pure disbelief. People from every corner of the culture called him out, saying there's a line you never cross. One viral tweet summed it up perfectly. "I don't care how much you hate Chris Brown. You don't threaten someone's child like that." Even those who once thought McCall got done dirty by the industry dropped all support right then and there. Overnight, he went from being seen as a mistreated artist to being labeled a pariah, someone the whole culture couldn't stand behind anymore. There are rules you never break, in hip-hop, in the streets, in life. And threatening a kid is at the top of that list. That's a sacred line you don't cross, ever. After the backlash hit, Kevin McCall scrambled to walk it back, claiming people misunderstood him. He said he was quoting Bible verses, talking eye for an eye, and that he actually loved Chris and his daughter, saying he'd kill for them, not kill them. But by then, the internet had already made up its mind. Nobody was buying that explanation, the timing, the tone, everything. It all sounded like damage control, not truth. McCall tried flipping the story, saying he was just warning about the dangers of gossip and rumors, but it didn't matter. The damage was done. Whatever sympathy people once had for him, gone. Whatever legit points he had about unpaid royalties or sketchy contracts, buried. Those tweets became the moment he lost it all, the point where fans realized he'd completely lost control. And in one move, he handed Chris Brown the moral high ground, a clean, justified reason to never speak to him again, to erase him from his circle for good. Then, in 2019, instead of laying low or trying to rebuild, McCall spiraled even further, going on a rant where he told Chris Brown's fans to take their own lives. It was shocking, dark, and heartbreaking to see just how far things had fallen. It was another jaw-dropping moment, another bridge torched beyond recognition. Kevin McCall's pain had turned into poison, spreading through his life and career until there was almost nothing left. What started as frustration and heartbreak had transformed into something dark, toxic, and self-destructive. Meanwhile, Chris Brown was moving different. Through all the chaos, he mostly stayed silent, cool, calculated, unbothered. He didn't have to respond to every shot McCall fired. McCall was doing enough damage to his own image without Chris saying a word. But then, a resurfaced clip from 2020 changed everything. Chris finally addressed the situation, indirectly, but brutally. In the video, he said, "If he wrote all these songs he claiming he wrote, why he ain't write no more?" That line hit like a sledgehammer. It was cold, cutting, and effective. A truth that stung deeper than any diss track ever could. Because while Chris's career kept skyrocketing, platinum plaques, sold-out world tours, Grammys stacking up, Kevin's music had come to a dead stop. His 2017 album, Man of God, barely made a ripple, disappearing without a trace. His net worth, which should have been in the millions based on his songwriting credits, had crashed to almost nothing. But the story didn't end there, not even close. While Kevin was spiraling, caught between his demons, failed relationships, and mental health battles that were tearing his life apart, the world kept spinning without him. The industry moved on, and the fame he once tasted slipped through his fingers like dust. To really understand how things spiraled this far, we gotta rewind, way back to where it all began. The rise and fall of what once looked like an unbreakable brotherhood. Before the beef, before the chaos, there was ambition, hunger, and a spark that could have changed everything. It's 2009. A young Kevin McCall from Watts, Los Angeles, is standing at the edge of a dream. Fresh out of college, where he'd been a student athlete chasing an NFL future, he suddenly switches lanes, deciding music is his real shot. At some random industry event, he spots Chris Brown, just 20 years old, trying to rebuild his image after the 2009 assault on Rihanna that had the world turning on him overnight. And right there, in that moment, Kevin makes a move that only pure hunger could drive. He literally pins Chris against a wall, yeah, for real, refusing to take no for an answer while pushing his demos into his hands. It was wild, bold, and straight up street hustle in its rawest form. Everyone around thought he was crazy, but that kind of determination, it got Chris's attention. Against all odds, that one impulsive moment flipped McCall's entire future, because from that day on, he wasn't just another hungry artist from Watts. He was officially on Chris Brown's radar. Chris Brown, intrigued by Kevin McCall's raw energy and maybe seeing a younger version of himself in that relentless grind, decided to give him a real shot. He brought McCall to the studio, and what happened next was magic, straight up. McCall would later call that era the best time of his life, a moment when he wasn't just a collaborator, but family, a real day one. Brown eventually signed him to his own label, CBE, Chris Brown Entertainment, in a joint venture with RCA Records, making McCall his official protege. And this wasn't just any random period. This was Chris's comeback era. He was fighting to prove to the world that one mistake wouldn't define him, that he could still dominate charts and drop timeless hits. Together, they cooked up pure heat. Their chemistry in the studio was electric, the kind you can't fake, and it birthed some of the biggest records of the early 2000s that still slap today. One of those was Deuces, a 2010 single featuring Tyga that soared to number 14 on the Billboard Hot 100 and became a breakup anthem for a whole generation. But here's where things get deep. Deuces wasn't originally a Chris Brown song at all. It was McCall's, his creation, his story. He wrote it from the pain of his first real heartbreak, pouring every ounce of emotion into that track. That song was his baby, his therapy turned to art, before it became a global hit that changed both their lives forever. Kevin McCall gave Deuces to Chris Brown under one clear condition. He had to stay on the track. Brown couldn't just take it and run. Chris agreed, brought in Tyga to sprinkle some extra flavor, and the rest? Straight up history. Certified hit status. Deuces earned a Grammy nomination for Best Rap Sung Collaboration and pulled in massive royalties. McCall later revealed he made over 6 figures from that one track alone, life-changing money for a kid from Watts who'd been working at Abercrombie & Fitch just months before, barely making rent. It felt like winning the lottery. Every dream finally lining up at once. But that was only the beginning. McCall went on a run that had the whole industry paying attention. He co-wrote and featured on Strip in 2011, which hit number 37 on the Billboard Hot 100 and had the clubs lit. He also contributed to the smash Look at Me Now, featuring Busta Rhymes and Lil Wayne, a global anthem that became Chris Brown's first #1 hit and took over radio everywhere. McCall's fingerprints were all over Brown's Fame album, the project that earned Chris his first Grammy and officially stamped his comeback as one of R&B's biggest redemption stories. And McCall wasn't just writing for Chris. He penned songs for other stars too, like Carrie Hilson's One Night Stand, showing off his versatility and proving he could hang with the best. For a shining moment, Kevin McCall was living the dream. From struggling in the hood to sitting at the center of R&B's new golden era, he was creating classics with one of the world's biggest artists. Songs that still get played at every club, every party, everywhere. Back then, Chris even called him his big brother in interviews. Their studio sessions, pure vibes, laughter, creative fire, and brotherly love filling the room. It was the kind of brotherhood that felt unbreakable, the bond that's supposed to last a lifetime. But underneath all the success and studio magic, cracks were starting to show. Small at first, like fractures in concrete, but soon splitting wide open. By 2013, things started shifting. Kevin McCall felt boxed in, like his creativity was being controlled. He wanted freedom, his own sound, his own voice. In a 2015 Vlad TV interview that later blew up online, McCall revealed that Chris wanted him to stick to a grown, sexy thug image, something that clashed hard with who he truly was as an artist. The real breaking point came in 2014, and it started over something that seemed small at first. Actress and singer Keke Palmer, yeah, that Keke Palmer, hit up McCall wanting to collab on a track. For McCall, this was huge. Finally, a chance to step out of Chris's shadow and prove he could shine solo. They linked up, shot a video for Shorty Wanna Ride, and Kevin was hyped, convinced this was his breakout moment. But Chris, he wasn't with it at all. According to McCall, Chris called him up furious, saying the collab didn't fit the image he wanted for his label. Keke's wholesome Disney vibe clashed with the edgier brand Chris was building. But this wasn't just about music, it was about control. That call drew a line in the sand and marked the beginning of the end for their brotherhood. McCall claims that during that heated phone call, Chris Brown straight up threatened to ruin his career, saying he'd make sure no label ever touched him again. For someone like Kevin, raised in the streets of Watts where respect is everything, that was disrespect on a different level. You don't let anyone try to punk you like that, not even family. That moment changed everything. McCall stopped seeing himself as a brother in arms and started realizing he was being treated like an employee who needed to stay in line. From his view, that was a violation, a line you just don't cross. He also began to suspect deeper foul play, claiming Brown's management had been sabotaging him from the shadows, blocking opportunities and shutting down his solo moves before they could take off. And while all that was going down, the money talk started getting ugly. Even though Deuces was a global hit, now sitting at over 500 million streams on Spotify, McCall swore he never got the royalties he was promised. He said his publishing deal under Chris's company was exploitative, that he didn't have proper legal advice, and that as a young, hungry artist chasing success, he signed paperwork that locked him into bad terms. That's when the trust finally snapped, and the brotherhood turned into business war. It was the kind of predatory deal that breaks artists before they ever get a fair shot. McCall's situation with RCA, the same deal he'd landed thanks to Chris Brown's pull, fell apart fast, like a house of cards in the wind. He described it as grimy from the jump, saying he was never even listed as an official artist on the label's website. Budgets vanished mysteriously, spent on producers he didn't need since he could already make his own beats. Promises were made, then broken, over and over again. Classic industry foul play. But the part that cut deepest? McCall claimed Chris removed his credits from songs like Look at Me Now, wiping away his name from the very records he helped create. To him, it wasn't just bad paperwork. It was betrayal at the highest level. Being written out of music history by the same person he helped rise to the top felt like a knife in the back. From brotherhood to beef, from success to silence. The Kevin McCall and Chris Brown story became one of hip-hop's most tragic fallouts, proof that fame and friendship don't always mix. If you made it this far, hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe to the channel for more wild stories like this. You don't want to miss what's coming next.